Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
Bong. Welcome back. It is the Thursday edition of Baseball is Dead. Jared Carabas is still somewhere across the pond, sitting on some tired stool out in front of a bar that the Beatles thought about going to one time. Then their trip got canceled. They couldn't go. But hey, he's going to return here shortly. It's me and Jayhay to bring you through and into the weekend.
I like to think that the trip is designed, the Beatles trip that is designed in a way where it gets less and less relevant as the trip goes on, like intentionally, so that by the last day you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel of things. Like, to your point, like you've run out of things that they did or actually, were at, and you're doing the things that they thought about or incidentally ran into. So yeah, no, I'm sure it's been great. Don't know where he is right now, but probably having a really good time. The pictures have been great if you follow Jared on Instagram.
Yeah, I think they're having lunch at a parlor that the Beatles thought about buying into, but then thought better of, and then they moved. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed lunch.
Speaking of that, I'm actually genuinely interested, I think, in hearing his food review upon coming home, because I don't know, like I went once to London, and it was a really long time ago, like 20 plus years ago. And so I don't really have a real recollection of the food or what's available to an adult. I know what the stereotypes are, but I'll be curious to see how he and his family navigated that, and him in particular, given what we know about what he likes to eat.
Yeah. And I think that's why I have zero curiosity, because that's kind of like asking a blind and deaf person how the concert was.
Yeah, like what answer am I expecting?
Yeah, what do you think you're gonna get?
Do I think he's become like an adventurous culinary mind over there in this culinary wasteland? It's like, no, probably not.
Yeah, I'll have the vanilla, please.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's about it. But we got. That's right. We went through the divisions yesterday, and we broke it down whether or not after the first month your team has an opportunity to make the postseason, because as we know, the numbers, the projections, they come out looking a little different before the first pitch is thrown. And even after the first pitch of the season is thrown, injuries, rotation depletion, doesn't matter. The numbers still may shock you, which I think they sort of did for us yesterday, which is why it was fun to kind of run through that and see where your team stacks up after a month. So from there, an idea was born. Well, let's figure out who the MVPs are through the first month of the season. Entirely too early to be projecting MVP and Cy Young races. But it was going to be May at some point in time, and today it's May. And so
it's an arbitrary cutoff, but it is helpful to kind of gauge where we're at. You said a couple podcasts ago, earlier this week, X number of games into the season, you sort of have a sense of who you are. You're getting a sense, your strengths and weaknesses. Definitely too early to be making proclamations, but I don't think it's too early to kind of take a poll here, because at least in some of these awards, particularly, not to give it away, but the AL MVP, like there's a gap opening up that I think is meaningful in terms of other people's ability to win the award. So,
yeah, because as of right now, at least on my very short list of 2 players, there's only one person, in my opinion, that's even within shouting distance of the leader, who is Aaron Judge.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see hear who you have second, because to me, it's just kind of a grab bag.
It's Aaron Judge, and we can start with the slash line. 427 is his average through the first month. 521 is his on base percentage. If you're doing the quick napkin math, yes, that's on base over half the time. And he is slugging 761. All of these numbers are high watermarks. So is the 1282 OPS. My grab bag player, if you will, in the Pacific Northwest, Jorge Polanco.
Oh, okay.
Jorge Polanco, whose slash line looks like this: 384 average, 418 on base percentage with an 808 OPS. That's good for a 1226 OPS. He's got 9 homers, 25 stakes, and 4 walks to just 9 punch outs.
Yeah. And he's done it in only 80 plate appearances too.
And that is still, Jayhay, to your point, quite the gap between he and Aaron Judge at the top of this list.
Yeah, I mean, but it's good. It's, I'll hold to it being a grab bag. I think Polanco's an interesting guy to call out because he's basically been as productive as any other non-Judge player, but in something like 60% of the plate appearances as those guys. Yeah. But that's to his credit. That's not a demerit that he's been so productive. 808 slug, to your point. Yeah, to me, I mean, obviously it's Judge. And the point I was, hinting at earlier was just that, like, he's double the next closest guy. If you add Bregman and Bobby Witt Jr., who are 2 and 3 according to F4 at least, they equal Aaron Judge. So, like, the book isn't written, and WAR is not the end all be all. But like you laid it out, we're also talking about a traditional slash line of 427, 521, 761. So like, there is no nit to pick in this candidacy currently, but when you're talking about a 1.5, coming up on 2 win gap between him and the other candidates 1 month in, like for a lot of people, a 1.5 win month is an amazing month. Like that's to the point, like that's second in the league right now. So like, you can't just overcome that gap with a good couple of weeks. And, we'll see how the race goes, but it's always fun to pick candidates at the beginning of the season who are not the incumbent heavy favorites. And 1 month into the season, once again, it's sort of like not picking Ohtani last year. Mm-hmm. You almost feel foolish for having picked anybody but Aaron Judge in the AL this year, no matter what the odds were.
and it's because you don't want to roll chalk, but at the same time, you don't want to be the one who's looking at yourself going, did I really not have Aaron Judge at the top of my list? Like, no. And you may not have, and you may have been, there may be wishful thinking behind your optimism, and that's fine. As fans, that's what we're here for, right? We are here to root for the underdog. We are here to pull for the folks who you don't know about, who haven't burst onto your scene quite yet. Maybe they're not in your pantheon, but Aaron Judge should absolutely be, and the numbers tell you exactly why. The guy is on another tear, a heater that has spanned years at this point. Years.
The most important thing you said there was Underdog. Underdog just dropped their playoff basketball promo. I don't know how much of the playoffs you've been taking in. I've been taking in quite a bit, including last night. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. It's actually a really fun concept. The longer the series, the bigger the boosts. You're going to want to see how serious it gets when the Game 7 hits. It's one reason why your boy here will be rooting for the Detroit basketball Pistons to take it to 7 against the Knicks, so we can see how long this extender goes. Hop on Underdog. Yep, the best place to make picks during playoff basketball and get started right now. Make sure you sign up with the code Jared. That's JARED to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits and a special pick on Underdog. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Jared. 2 final things on my end. I put together a bunch of end of month stat nugget notes.
Nice.
Both for social use and pod use and Slab Lab and stuff like that. But maybe the most important one is Aaron Judge. I don't know if you saw, is up to 3.2 wins above replacement now, entering May 1. So
entering the second month of the season. We haven't played a game in the second month of the season.
3 wins above replacement makes all-star teams some seasons. Okay.
Yes.
And he's got it at the end of through April. That is the most. So Fangraphs keeps monthly WAR splits going back 50 years. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So you can go back to the mid 1970s. 3.2 wins above replacement is the most wins above replacement in March and April in a single season in that entire span.
Wow.
Aaron Judge's, what you just witnessed, is arguably the best March, April that we have ever seen, at least people of our age. Cody Bellinger's 2019, which you obviously remember, was the only other time somebody had hit 3 or higher in that span. And then Barry Bonds in 2004, 2.8 is number 3 on that list. So that includes pitchers too. So very, very impressive for Aaron Judge. Also, I took a look. I know Petriello on MLB.com did something similar. I took a look at what he's done over the last year. Mm-hmm. He's at just shy of 14 wins above replacement since April 30th or since May 1st of last season. And the next closest player is Bobby Witt Jr. at 10.5, and Shohei's all the way down at like 8.5. He's been 5 wins above replacement better than Shohei over that span. So, yeah, just incredible. Anyway, we can move on. I know we're on a little bit of a time crunch, trying to keep it tight today. Day baseball, all that sort of fun stuff. But we're on the same page here.
Do you have? Why don't you give us your AL Cy Young Award winner so far in the first month of the season?
All right. So this isn't like my stattiest take in the world, but one thing I do feel not super passionately about, but I do feel is like, if you are an award winner and you are pitching at like 98.9% of your main competition for that award, the award probably stays with you. And like, not that you have to take it necessarily, but like, to me, I'm looking at the leaderboard, and like statistically, the AL Cy Young right now is probably Hunter Brown. And 1.22 ERA kind of speaks for itself, and that's ultimately where I would check my mark through 1 month of the season, because 1.22 is a 1.22, and he leads in F4, and it's not like he doesn't have supporting statistics. But like, I do want to call out Skubal, because he's at a 2.34. He's in a lot of ways having just as good, if not better, of a season than he did last year. Like, there's no step back. There are marginal steps forward. In a lot of ways, he is not the number 1 statistical candidate right now, and Evaldi, Crochet, a couple of other guys deserve call outs, but yeah, Hunter Brown's the guy. And an incredible start for him. I got a nug for you before I get your answer on Hunter Brown.
Please.
Of all the pitches this season to be thrown at least 150 times, nobody's batting average against is lower than Hunter Brown's 4-seamer.
Just shoving it down your throat. Here's the heater. Come get it.
Which is, I mean, how those sorts of stats work. That's pretty impressive that it's a 4-seamer atop that list instead of, like a slider or a split or something that's, naturally going to induce less contact, right? Well, or be thrown less frequently. Yeah.
That's what you're getting force fed. Absolutely. Like, more times than not, you're going to, there are very few at bats that go by where a fastball is not thrown. Very few. It is utter dominance with that pitch right now for Hunter Brown.
Is that your boy too? Is that where you're going?
It probably is my boy. That's probably the guy. The one guy that I do want to shine some light on, though, is the fellow who leads the American League in ERA right now, and that is Tyler Mahle, a guy I will see on the mound today. Yeah. Not quite the dominant presence that some of these other guys are. The swing and miss just isn't quite there. But I think if you move beyond that, you can truly appreciate the work that he's still doing. I think what makes Skubal and the highlight of Skubal so impressive is not only the dominance, but the command with the dominance. It's 40 strikeouts for Skubal to just 5 walks over his 34 2/3 innings. Tyler Mahle, though, doing a good job of limiting traffic. Opponents hitting under 200 against Mahle, hitting 165. The whip is 0.98. So he's handling business. He's going to rely on the defense a little more, and that's just his game. That's what he does. But for me, when you combine the dominance, the workload, the swing and miss, the limiting of the traffic, it's Hunter Brown, and that's your American League Cy Young winner through the first month of this season.
Yeah, and one thing, just, you were right to call him out, but Crochet's got like 40% more innings thrown too, which Matt, like, just, I'm using Crochet as the extreme example because he leads the league with 44 innings pitched, and we'll see how that ebbs and flows throughout the season. Obviously, Mally's starting today, but that that's a lot of innings. 13 innings or whatever is a lot to be leaning at when we're talking about a sample of 44 or 31 innings at this point. Worth calling out Max Fried too. Like, I know the narrative on him, it almost became as much, well, the Yankees overpaid to get their guy, or he was the consolation prize or the backup plan for not returning Juan Soto. He's also, 5-0 for those who like wins and losses with a 1.19 ERA through his first month of Yankees baseball. And like, yes, it's a long contract. Yes, we have a long way to go, but for a team that really needed him to immediately fill the void that he was signed to fill, and then the additional void of Garrett Cole's absence, coming through and delivering and having the Yankees lead the division through the first month, pitching this well, I think, puts him, to me, he would be a finalist for it, given his combination of quantity and quality so far.
I completely agree. What it kind of makes it feel like is that this was an ideal signing for the New York Yankees.
Yep.
This was quite possibly the signing you needed. Well, you wanted one, you needed one. This is the one you needed.
And if it makes you feel better to like just think of it as like a $170 million contract instead of 2.0 whatever it was, then fine. Just think of it that way, because the Yankees can and should be paying a premium when they need a piece to win in the present during the prime of Aaron Judge's career, like the greatest right-handed hitter in literal franchise history. I think that's the extra mile that you have to go, and so far so good on that. Yeah.
As far as the Cy Young Award goes, I think this one was pretty clear cut.
The NL.
Yeah,
I think we're probably on the same page.
You got Motskins.
Yeah, I got Yamamoto.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, not to be a slave to ERA necessarily, but it's 106. It's a half a run better than any other pitcher qualified in the NL. If I don't like basing awards off of things like FIP or xERA, because at the end of the day, and again, we're still talking about a month, so it really doesn't matter anyway. But like, I'm more of a what transpired on the field sort of guy when it comes to awards, as opposed to kind of trying to distill down to, your third order ERA necessarily. You know what I mean? Trying to take luck out of it. It's an award. We're not necessarily discussing who the actual best pitcher in the league is if you had to win one game, because like Skeens leads in FIP right now, but not quite there with ERA. I still think this is his award to lose at the end of the day. Like, if you're asking me, who do I think is going to win the NL Cy Young? I'm still taking Paul Skeens because he's still 7th in ERA, and really there's, other than his swing and miss and like his dominance being down 10% or whatever it is from last season, everything he's doing feels very, very sustainable, and maybe even a little bit of a bad luck case so far to have a 2.39 ERA. But yeah, Yamamoto really looks like he's taking that next step, right?
Yeah, there's no denying what you're seeing from Yamamoto. 43 punch outs in 34 innings. And to your point about Paul Skeens, 37 2/3 innings, just 39 punch outs. So still more than a strikeout an inning, but there's more separation there with Yamamoto. And I think anytime we start to talk about, and this is where when ERAs are in the 2s and the 1s, you can't ignore one that's almost a full run lower.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Yamamoto is with these contemporaries, with the other guys that are in the conversation. We're talking no less than 65 0.65 points higher than, with everybody, anybody and everybody that would be in the conversation. Yamamoto's ERA is almost a full run lower than theirs. And the swing and miss and the efficiency accompanies his other competitors or potential points of conversation here. So for me, it was an easy pick leaning on Yamamoto. Tyler McGill is a guy that we could shine some light on. The way that Pivetta has thrown the ball has been impressive. Slab Lab alum Michael King as well on that list, but I think it's Yamamoto.
Interesting thing, if you're sorting in the NL by ERA, I believe it's 4 of the top 10 pitchers were free agents this past season, and or trade assets, like kind of guys that were traded away for contract reasons. Luzardo, Pivetta, Heaney, and Canning. So if you want to put Luzardo aside, the other 3 guys were basically freely available. I know Pivetta cost real money, but the other guys were essentially, I mean, Canning was non-tendered, and I don't remember Andrew Heaney's exact path, but probably could have been signed by any team.
Yes,
really. And we're talking about 2.50 and 1.78 and 2.61 ERAs for those guys. So pitching's funny, but yeah, the Yamamoto thing is I feel like last year, given the contract and hype, that, you know, even the most optimistic, even the most rose-colored glasses, it did feel a little disappointing last year, because you're like, this is a generational pitcher, and yet it feels like I'm not quite getting that generational performance, even though it all ended in a World Series and everybody's feeling good and, you know, kind of a free roll. And this feels a lot more like what was advertised. Pitchers age 26 or younger with 40 or more strikeouts and 4 or fewer earned runs in March and April of a single season. Yamamoto this season, Zach Greinke in 2009, and Fernando Valenzuela in 1981. That's it.
Wow. Fernando Mania.
Yeah. Yeah, we all remember that. What a wild time it was in LA, man.
It was insane. Yeah, insane. Dude. The Viper Room, it was just, things were popping off.
Yeah, Studio 64 or whatever. Oh wait, no. That's wrong. That's different. Sorry.
Yep, that's wrong. Yep. That's in the that's a different Ohio. That's a different Clemson.
That's right. That's right. Also, I wasn't born in 1981, so it doesn't matter. NL MVP.
Oh, it's the polar bear. It's the polar bear.
You think it's that shut and dry, or
cut and dry?
Yeah, shut and dry, open and closed.
I kind of. I mean, there's conversation. Yes, I do. Okay. Yes, I do. He's the best player on the best team in baseball, and all of the numbers indicate that he is having a career go at this thing. Yeah. And he is like as far as when you think about a power hitter and you think about Pete Alonso specifically, I don't want to call it an all or nothing approach, but the man is quite literally hitting 100 points higher than his career average right now. The power is there. He's cut the strikeout rate down. And as I said, he is the best and most productive player on the best team in baseball right now. And for the Mets and their success, a lot of it was going to be centered around what you were going to get from Juan Soto, what you were going to get from the best shortstop of his generation in Francisco Lindor. And I got to believe that the presence of the polar bear has allowed those other two to eat to the extent that they are. And so for me, that's why it's Pete Alonso.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't really have a passionate argument against Pete Alonso, like just purely offensively. He's been the best player in the National League for sure, and probably the best offensive player outside of Aaron Judge in Major League Baseball. But I do think it's a little bit more of a toss-up than that. Like I find myself taking a long look at Tatis and Corbin Carroll, and I think between those two, I'm a little bit more compelled by the case of Fernando Tatis. And, you know, I know the Mets are the best team in baseball, and, you know, what does Pete Alonso have to do to get the credit for that? I'm not really looking to take it away.
Sounds like it.
No, but I think, you know, the Padres, yes, we're doing this on May 1. The Padres were the story of the season, like in the blink of an eye ago. And Fernando Tatis is the best player on that team. And I think I'm just much more comfortable with his candidacy moving forward. And I think it's mostly a toss-up right now anyway. So if that's the case, then I'm probably going to go with the guy that, you know, I think provides, like, obviously I don't need to tell any listener that he's providing a much broader base of skill and defensive value where Pete is probably taking away in that sense. But I think it's probably, if you polled most people, I think Pete Alonso would probably win, or executives. But I think Fernando Tatis is the biggest threat to the incumbent Shohei Ohtani's actual MVP candidacy. Like, I think moving forward, the NL MVP, like, I feel supremely confident, very confident, pretty confident that the NL MVP is going to come out of the NL West.
I would agree with that statement. I think if Pete Alonso, and look, I'm not telling you that he's going to sustain a batting average that is, almost 100 points higher than his career total. I'm not telling you that. But as we sit right now, in terms of productivity, Pete Alonso, 10 more RBI than Fernando Tatis Jr. He has 10 more walks than Fernando Tatis Jr. Not that that's a huge deal. But it's those little things for Pete Alonso. If we look up, and this is the same stuff that's happening in June, July, and I'm not telling you again that he's going to be hitting 340 in June or July, but if he's around the 300 mark in June or July, I have to believe his offensive numbers still continue to pace in the way they are right now, because that's just, you can't take the numbers like the strikeout rate and the reduction that we're seeing there and think that that's just an empty statistic. No, those numbers, that swing and miss, that goes somewhere else. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here with the average, the bat to ball. So for Pete Alonso, if he can sustain this, I think he makes the most compelling argument, at least for right now, projecting for the MVP. So that's why I went with Pollard.
This is totally unrelated to your selection, really, or anything about it. Who, if you had to pick right now, who finishes the year with more wins above replacement, or for that matter, a higher OPS, if you want to? I don't really care how you tackle it. Juan Soto or Pete Alonso?
Ooh. See, the man. Because the on base,
because there's a damn near 400 point gap right now
between he and
1132 and 752 is where they sit at OPS right now. So 380 points
between he and Soto.
Yeah.
See, part of me just wants to believe that at some point in time, Juan Soto just turns into the animal that he's going.
I believe that he will.
I believe that he will too. But I also, you know what? I'm rolling with the polar bear. Fuck it.
Wow.
I'm rolling with the polar bear. He knows how big of a year this is for him. He knows that he's got to bang for the future. That's got to happen right now. So for the reasons that you want Juan Soto to leverage the presence of a Pete Alonso right now, and also leverage the presence of a Lindor in that same lineup, I'm telling you that Pete Alonso is going to be the driving force of what the Mets do throughout the summer.
DB, I think we've organically walked into something beautiful here. I think we've walked into a jersey bet.
Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy.
You and me. I think
come on with it.
I think, and I think the stakes are super clear. If you win, you get a Pete Alonso Mets jersey. And if I win, I get a Juan Soto Mets jersey.
That's fine. That's fine. I maybe one request, I have the name changed to Polar Bear on the back. Is that something we can do?
Yeah, if they do that, I'm sure they do, then that seems like something we can do.
Okay. All right. I like it.
All right. Episode, what is this, 330? Yeah.
For sure.
All right. That is the first, is that the freshest jersey bet of the season on the podcast?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The freshest and without a doubt the most official jersey bet.
Yeah. Yeah. That is just that's a thing. We're going to be tracking Pete Alonso and Juan Soto's OPS for the rest of the season. This is very exciting. 380 points. Better get to work. You know who else better get to work is the training staff for the Halos, because guess what? Mike Trout shelved again, Jayhay. Shelved again. Oh, before we get to Mike Trout, can you do something for me?
Please.
Can you close your eyes and imagine what you're going to look like 6 months from now? Can you imagine what the Angels roster might look like 6 months from now?
Oh man.
How does your hair look? How does Ron Washington's hair look?
Not great. Not great. Not ideal.
Yeah. Now picture yours or Ron's if you had started using Hims.
Oh, okay.
If you're picturing the same as before, but with much thicker and fuller hair, well, you'd be correct.
Oh.
Hims provides you with convenient access to a range of hair loss treatments that work, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil. I like to say it like Jared, that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. Choose from personalized chewable, orable, spray, and serum. That is many options to find what works best for you. That's chewable, chewable, oral, spray, and serum. Sure. The process is simple and 100% online, so there are no uncomfortable doctor visits. Answer a few questions, and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. So if prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to you for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, and they can help you get your confidence back too with visibly thicker and fuller hair.
Oh.
Yeah, it sounds great. Is great. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/BID. That's HIMS. That part wasn't clear. .com/BID for your personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/BID. Mike Trout, man. Yeah, that sucks. I mean, we'll see. He said he hoped to play Thursday, right? I haven't seen the news whether he is or isn't, but just the idea that his comments are weird. They said it like felt weird, right?
Yeah, well, that's what he said. He's like, when it happened, his direct quote was, when it happened, I knew it was like just a weird one. Meaning, all right, I haven't felt that before, and it didn't feel terrible. So what was that? And I've been there before. That's called breaking through scar tissue, which is exactly, I think, what they've sort of chalked this up to. So I hope it's not an IL stint, because that would just suck for all the reasons we've outlined many, many times. The fact that he only played 29 games last season, not ideal. He's not really tearing the cover off the ball this year. So you would hate to see this sort of injury now put him on the shelf for a while, and then it's working his way back to what? To try to salvage I hate the idea that we're having this conversation about Mike Trout, but it's something that we had to address.
Yeah, and to me, it's less about like, is this particular injury catastrophic, and more, that we're already dealing with something of a ding up, even if it's tearing through scar tissue, which is not something that I have any expertise on or will talk about. But it's just another kind of minor degradation. It feels like, and then you open up the hood on his season. Like I tweeted something about the injury, and somebody responded with like, LOL, man, like doesn't he have like 10 home runs? And he's got 9, point taken, but like that's really all that's going on here. And I'm not saying that is valueless, but it's certainly not what I had hoped for in Mike Trout's age 33 season, even as recently as going into this year. It's not even what he provided in the equivalent number of games last year. Like, actually, it's a really good, maybe I'll tweet this. This is actually a really good point to make this comparison, because he played 29 games last year. As you said, he's played 29 games this year. And what is that comparison like? And it's a clear step back from even what you got last year, right? Whether you look at wins above replacement or batting average or on base, it doesn't fucking matter. It's all worse, including homers. And I don't know, like, it's just, we're not going to do the whole Mike Trout depressing thing, but
no.
I need to see better actual production when he's on the field. That's what matters to me. And we weren't really seeing that early on outside of the homers.
No. So again, we hope it's just scar tissue.
Like, is he Eugenio Suarez? Like, is that what Mike Trout is?
You don't want to look, you don't want to get to a point where the narrative around this guy's career is over the last 5+ seasons of how ineffective and unproductive he's been because he hasn't been healthy, because then you just start to mar the work that he's put in from the beginning from the fucking first time he showed up in the big leagues. And
dude,
and that's
there's a whole generation of fans that only remember Albert Pujols one way.
I know.
And it's not the way you and I necessarily got to know him, right?
I know, which is crazy to think that the slander that I hear around that name is what it is. And all you got to do is just go, look, my friend, pull up Baseball Reference. I want you to introduce yourself to the decade that you are completely unaware of, because that was the best fucking player on the planet.
Yeah.
In other news, in Los Angeles, there's a team down there that needs a little help in their rotation, a little shot in the arm, and they got it from the Catman. Tony Gonsolin returns to the Los Angeles Dodgers and did so in pretty dynamic fashion. 6 solid innings for the right-hander, punched out 9, few earned runs, no problem. That's a quality start. But this is good news for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yeah, he's another pitcher.
He's not you, right? he prevents them from having to give you a phone call. Jokes aside, Tony Gonsolin, I know he wasn't great in 23 the last time we saw him, but for the most part in his career, like, we're talking about a guy who has almost 400 innings and a 3.21 ERA. Like, when Tony Gonsolin pitches, he has a pretty good track record of being really effective. It's just, is he going to be pitching? Right. And so, to get him back and to get a really, I think, very encouraging start overall. I know the ERA is 4.50. I think all the other numbers that you laid out are the more important ones there. Right now, I mean, it sounds flippant almost, but like, Tony Gonsolin returns, and Tony Gonsolin is, I think, in a lot of ways, the number 2 pitcher on this staff, kind of like, as long as he's around. Because his track record's longer than Dustin May in the rotation, and Roki Sasaki is qualitatively the 4th best pitcher out of 4 right now. Important in what's a very competitive division that we've outlined quite a bit recently.
And the comeback on the mound doesn't stop there for the Los Angeles Dodgers, because they got a left-hander who's starting to work his way back and has done so in healthy fashion. Fellow by the name of Clayton Kershaw, I think. Clayton Kershaw, 5 innings of 3 earned run ball for the Oklahoma City Comets. So he's working his way back. 66 total pitches, 44 of those for strikes, filling up the strike zone. But the fact that he was able to get up and down 5 times and did so on just 66 pitches is very impressive, and is another positive sign for the Dodgers, who are definitely in need of help on the mound. So whether or not the viability of Clayton Kershaw is something that is able to come in and instantly impact the Dodgers, I got to believe that just having another healthy arm with that sort of veteran experience is something that you feel like, if you're Dave Roberts, we could get him through 5, and then we could get it to the bullpen, and we feel like we've got a chance, especially with our offense. So for a team that needs help on the mound, they're getting it, I think, at the right time, which is early. You like to maintain pace in that division. So it's just a good sign to get Kershaw back rolling.
I know you got to get going here in a second, because you've got a real Major League Baseball game to cover. Jake and I were joking beforehand that, I think I'm going to have to use the Game Time app to get myself to an actual baseball game soon, because every time I do the Game Time read, I have to keep referencing opening day, and we're now into May, and I haven't been to a Major League Baseball game since. I've watched them all on a little TV screen or computer screen. So, obviously, if I'm going to be going, Game Time is the way, because it's the easiest way to get tickets on short notice, and that low price can go to my favorite treat at the ballpark, which is a cheese pretzel. I don't know if you knew that.
Ooh. Pretzel with cheese, or a cheese pretzel?
Well, at the ballpark, I guess it's going to be a pretzel with cheese. It's going to have the little dipping sauce. Yeah, for sure. Last minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With Game Time picks, you get to make the last minute ticket buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. Via zone deals, you can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. So if you just want to be in the experience, use zone deals. All-in pricing, toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and with the lowest price guarantee, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. With that, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. It's a big industry, too. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code BID for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code BID for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
I wanted you to hear that before you left.
Yes, no, it's thank you.
Parting wisdom.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And before we part ways, there was a very scary moment that unfolded last night in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
A fan, I'm sure you folks have already seen it. Fan fell out of the stands, out in right field. This is late in the ball game. Andrew McCutchen, Captain Cutch, with a knock through the left side. And like everybody else in the ballpark, pretty excited about it. Unfortunately, this individual, and look, there's reports on the internet, something that I retweeted, which was essentially a guy trying to figure out like what happened, what's going on with these guys. And well, maybe he was intoxicated. That's the rumor. All that aside, in a moment like that, it is about as scary as it gets to watch somebody plummet 21 feet and hit the ground. Like, it just terrible sight. And you saw, I think another fan jumped over after, and whether that was somebody with the individual or not, I don't know if that's necessarily been clarified or not. I'm not sure that I've seen any other reports that I could, confirm. I think we've seen a lot of, I think he has a skull fracture, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that to be true. I don't know if you know that to be true, Jayhay. Like I said, it hasn't been confirmed on my end, but just an absolutely terrible sight. And I hope he's okay. I hope the family's okay, because the last thing you want is to have the ball game and the ballpark and things like that represent bad memories for you. Just a wild scene.
Yeah. Only thing we'll see how it plays out. Obviously best of luck to that person. Obviously hope he survives and ends up being okay. My reaction is you can never quite tell on the internet what's what, or what's real, what's not, what's AI anymore. And my initial reaction to seeing the video was that there is no chance this is real. And multiple people had texted it to me. And obviously it's quite real. It's tragically real. But the way in which he fell, or was seeming almost like propelled out of his seat, again, just the way that the video looked, not saying he was actually propelled out of his seat, but was seemed like a physical impossibility as I was scrolling. So that's not relevant or important, but that was my reaction to it, and I hope he's all right, man.
Yeah, no, I'm with crazy. You. I was like, what am I watching? It just looked weird. It looked, and that's why the report.
Yeah, like this isn't funny. This isn't a funny video. Like, what are we doing?
No.
Like,
yeah, exactly. There was no there wasn't like, oh wow, let me see it again. I was like, oh my God, what is that? What was that?
Yeah,
like, not good. So yeah, hopefully he's okay. Jayhay, I know you're going to fire off some nugs for the folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm Colin. Enjoy the nuggets.
Thank you very much. Have a good game.
Hey, Colin.
All right. Well, it's just me now, I guess. After hours with Jayhay. Welcome in. What a week it's been. Thanks for tuning in. We'll get to the Nuggets right away. 3 players finished April with at least 5 homers, 10 stolen bases. Those players were Elly De La Cruz, O'Neill Cruz, and Pete Crow Armstrong. That had only happened 5 times in the entire history of Major League Baseball prior to 2025. 3 people this year, 5 people, rest of the entire history of baseball. Corbin Carroll is the first player in Major League Baseball history to have at least 9 homers, 4 triples, and 5 stolen bases in March and April. Doing it all. The Cubs are the first team in Major League Baseball history to have 40 homers and 40 stolen bases by the end of April. So they went 40-40 in April. They are the first team to ever do that. The only left-handed pitcher in Major League Baseball history to have more strikeouts in March and April than Mackenzie Gore's 59 this season, Randy Johnson. So if you weren't paying attention to what's going on with Mackenzie Gore, the other part of the Juan Soto trade, tune in. Garrett Crochet, obviously a fan favorite, joined Chris Sale, Pedro Martinez, and Roger Clemens as the only Red Sox pitchers in franchise history to reach 50 strikeouts by the end of April. So obviously maybe the modern Mount Rushmore of Red Sox pitchers. Garrett Crochet now joins them. The Rockies, they're the 4th team in Major League Baseball history and the first in 37 years to lose at least 25 of their first 30 games while being outscored by at least 75 runs. The last time was the 1988 Orioles, as well as the 1952 Pirates and the 1932 Red Sox. So maybe some Red Sox listeners remember the 1932 team. Rapid fire here. Luis Arias is the 6th player in MLB history to strike out 2 or fewer times in, I don't know why I'm saying rapid fire. Like, who cares? Nobody else is even on this podcast at this point. It's just me. When I'm ready to go, we can go, I guess. Unless Jake and Jeremy and Connor have stuff to do, which I'm sure they do at some point, but we'll wrap it up. Luis Arias is the 6th player in MLB history to strike out 2 or fewer times in March and April in a minimum of 100 plate appearances, along with Juan Pierre in 2005, Tony Gwynn in 1998, Roberto Alomar in 1994, Carney Lansford in 1989, and Joe Morgan in 1971. Eugenio Suarez is the 3rd player in in the wild card era with 10 or more home runs, but 20 or fewer hits in March and April, joining Max Muncy in 2023, and Barry Bonds in 2001. Max Fried is the 2nd Yankees pitcher ever, we mentioned him earlier, to rack up 5 wins with an ERA of 1.25 or lower in March and April, joining Garrett Cole in 2023. Charlie Morton, on the flip side of this, is the 5th pitcher to rack up 6 losses in March and April in a single season. Philip Umber in 2013, Barry Zito in 2008, Mike Maroth in 2003, and Dave Stewart in 1984. This is the first time 4 pitchers, and those pitchers are Zach Littell, Herman Marquez, Charlie Morton, and Aaron Nola, have racked up 5 or more losses in March and April since 2014, when Trevor Cahill, Brandon McCarthy, Oberholzer, and Villanueva did so. This is the first time we've ever had 2 pitchers have 5 or more losses and 9 or higher ERAs in the same season in March and April, which is true of Herman Marquez and Charlie Morton. So pretty notable. We like to note the good stuff. We also like to note the shitty stuff. Nathan Eovaldi is the 4th pitcher in Major League Baseball history with 46 or more strikeouts and 3 or fewer walks in March and April. Incredible strikeout to walk work, joining Corbin Burns, Garrett Cole, both in 2021, and Curt Schilling in 2001. Since May 1st of last season, Aaron Judge has produced more wins above replacement than Shohei Ohtani and Elly De La Cruz combined. Bowden Francis is the 8th pitcher in MLB history to allow 11 or more homers in March and April, joining Corbin Burns in 2019, Armando Galarraga in 2011, Glendon Rush in 2006, Charles Nagy in 1998, Steve Sparks in 1996, Jim DeShays in 1994, and Phil Niekro in 1970. And those are the Nugs. All right, that's it. Thank you for listening this week. We'll be back, Jake, unless you tell me I'm wrong, we'll be back Monday, right? All right, Jared, back in America. Who knows where Dallas will be, but yep, enjoy the weekend. Great baseball ahead. See you then. We gone.